beyond that time of year when it's time to take off the summerish tires and put on the winterish tires. But I got a call from somebody in my immediate family who was having trouble doing this themselves. They know how to do it, but they couldn't get the tire and rim to leave the vehicle after they removed the lug nuts. I just had the same problem, but I have learned how to solve this. I don't know if you normally would do this, but it's good to go around and loosen the lug nuts on all the tires on the car. Just break them free so they're loose. Like a, full, once it breaks loose, turn it like a whole turn, 360 degrees loose for every lug nut. And then drive the car gently up and down your driveway a little bit, bring it back, and then when you jack up one of the tires, if it doesn't wiggle, then you need to go and drive it around a bit more. Now, why do I say if it doesn't wiggle? Well, if it doesn't wiggle when the lug nuts are loose after you've driven it around, it means that the oxidation is holding the tire in place on the mount point. And the reason we drove it to start with a little bit was to break up the oxidation. So after I drove it, before I drove it, I couldn't move this at all with the lug nuts loose. But after I drove it up and down the driveway a little bit, I can do that, which tells me it's no longer locked on to the mount point by oxidation. So these points of contact here that mate here will, over the course of time of driving, and it's been bolted on tight and firm, it's naturally going to oxidate, and the oxidation actually can form, essentially it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's a weld exactly, but it can form a bond significantly strong enough that you can kick this tire with great force and it will not free. But if you use the leverage of the weight of the car and the fact the bolts are a bit loose to drive the car and turn the wheel a bit, apply the brakes and whatnot, the leverage, the mass, will wiggle until that oxidization, not a weld, but the whatever that bond is, will break free, which is what I did. And I first had to do this last year with another vehicle, and before I took it for a little drive to loosen it up, there's a video somewhere where I'm kicking the tire with extreme force. You can see that, and it didn't break free until I drove it around just a little bit. So the idea is you once you break the bolt nut free from maximum tight, and then just rotate it one revolution down the threads, and then do that for all of them. Take it for a little drive up and down your driveway, turn the tire so the car turns and twists a little bit, bring it back, and if you get it up off the ground and you can't wiggle the tire like I showed you, you got to go out and drive it some more, because it's quite likely, no matter how much you kick it and no matter what size mallet you pound on the tire with, it may not come free, and then you'll be really ticked off because you have to lower the jack again and put the lug nuts on first, lower the jack again, and go and drive it around some more. So there you go. How to free up a tire that is essentially oxidized onto the car and won't release even after you take the lug nuts off. One thing I need to mention is this tire needs to be jacked up completely clear of the ground before you can check to see if it's wiggle loose. If it's still got any weight on it, it won't move. You may not realize it. So the one way to find out is if you can turn it. Although in a automatic transmission, the rear or the front, depending which way it is, probably won't turn much, but it will turn a little bit on an automated transmission. It'll wiggle a bit, but if it's touching the ground at all, it won't wiggle at all, because the weight of the car will still be preventing the wheel from moving, rotating, or wiggling side to side. In the case where you're driving the car to wiggle the tires loose if they're oxidized and stuck, won't come off, you need to be driving on dry pavement, and for the front tires, you may have to drive in a circle. And when it breaks free, you'll hear it. As long as you're not driving fast, you're just driving slowly. As you make that turn, it's going to torque the tire, and when the oxidation breaks loose, you'll hear a clunk, and you'll know it broke free. So once for the left, once for the right, you should be good to go. The rear one, depending if you're rear wheel drive, front wheel drive, it depends. I'm talking rear wheel drive for this particular car. Rear wheel drive, when you put the brakes on or accelerate hard, it'll probably break free on its own. Or just the twisting and turning of making a turn will probably break it free as well. click like and click subscribe. Thanks very much.